Hello, my friends, and welcome to my top 10 list. This is one of the most anticipated videos on BookTube, a list of the top 10 favorites that I read in the past year. So, in 2024, I read 61 books, and to be honest, it wasn't the best reading year. It was in terms of number, but honestly was not in terms of quality, where I think I did have like a top 10, but not really a lot of competition. So it was kind of easy to pick out which ones were top 10, which is great, but like out of 60, that really says something about the quality. So I really do just want to read better books this year. Other videos I've seen about people's favorite books are either book awards or top 10s. And so I kind of want to do a mix of both, where I'm going to give you my top 10, but I'm also going to be assigning awards to them. So without further ado, I only have kind of two honorable mentions. So the first one I'm going to mention is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I finished the first trilogy of the Mistborn era this year in March, and I'm going to be honest, this was a little bit underwhelming when it came to the conclusion for me, personally. Personally, don't come at me, please. I know that I hear kind of mixed reviews about this last book, and that a lot of people think that this was a kind of perfect culmination of the events of the three books, but something about it just I wasn't completely satisfied with. But this is an honorable mention because of how much I connect to the characters and like how much I love them, and especially Vin. I feel so connected to Vin, and she is one of my favorite characters. I just loved coming back to follow her on her journey and how involved she was getting with all of these other characters and seeing everyone going through their own personal journey and seeing how all of that resolved. I loved that part, but some parts just weren't as satisfactory when it came to feeling like this was resolved. But I do know that there's like Easter eggs, and obviously this is part of the big whole Cosmere, so I am definitely going to be continuing on with my Sanderson journey this year, and we'll see where that takes me. Anyways, honorable mention, not in my top 10, unfortunately. And another honorable mention, which I think is kind of towing the line to reach the 10th spot. But it didn't really hit me as much as, I've seen other people connect to this book, but that would be The Lies of Locke Lamora. And I've had my gripes with this book because it kind of took me a while to get into the story, and it felt like it was going at an astronomically slow pace. And I felt like there wasn't really a lot of explanation, especially when it comes to the world building. A lot of things just aren't explained, and I felt like I really wanted more. But the more that time passes, the more I still think about this book, and I definitely do love the characters. I love the characters. I love the found family that is so characteristic of this book, and I think that it definitely does have its hidden gems, and it does stick with you, especially like the ending and the emotion that the characters feel for each other. And I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to explain how I do connect with this book, but part of it just didn't quite hit me where I wanted it to. But I don't know. I think maybe I could reread this or continue on with the series for sure. This is definitely starting to grow on me the more that like time passes and I'm thinking about it, and I kind of want to like revisit it again. So yeah, it definitely is interesting, and there is a lot of like mystery that comes with this. So that's an honorable mention slash maybe like just there to reach my top 10. On with the official top 10 that I have decided. I'm not entirely sure about the order of these, but I feel all right with this order that I'm going to give you. So in spot number 10, and winning the award of best Easter eggs, is The Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig. This wins the award of best Easter eggs because of seeing the threads that all tie and like bind together by the end of the book. I thought it was fantastic, and I loved the scope of this story. I don't want to give anything away for this book because it really is just an experience you have to experience, but I loved the characters and the world and the kind of supernatural exploration, and how emotional this was as well. Ultimately, the way that everything ended up tying together in the end was very beautiful and very satisfactory, and I love this. In the ninth spot, we have The Blood of the Lion by C.D. McKenna, and this wins the award of the most fun plot because I think this really had all of the fantastical elements that I was looking for, especially when it comes to diving into so many different types of kind of like archetypes and fantasy tropes, but I think that it did it really, really well. We have the Soul Realm, we have cursed weapons, we have damned kings, we have the last dragon rider. It just ticked so many boxes when it came to these fantasy tropes and the plot. It was also my first indie published fantasy that I read, and so it wins extra points for that. I definitely just had a lot of fun with exploring this new world and getting to know these characters that all had their own problems that they're dealing with, and I really look forward to seeing how these characters are going to come together. I read the second book, but it didn't wow me as much as the first book did in terms of the writing, but the plot definitely did continue to get better, and so I definitely look forward to reading the third book. Regardless, I think the first book is my favorite compared to the second, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. In eighth place, we have The Universe in Verse by Maria Popova. This is a collection of poetry explaining scientific discoveries, providing a poem that is about that discovery, and also an illustration. This wins the award of the most beautiful book in terms of the content, especially, and the illustrations, because all of them have the same style and the same colors, so it kind of helps interconnect the entire collection. This is definitely one of my favorites because it is my special interests. I love science and I love art. That's like my whole personality, other than reading. This was an absolutely beautiful collection that really celebrates the beauty of science across the world and how it impacts people and the world, of course, and how people see the beauty in these different discoveries that can help save lives, that can help explain what we might think is unexplainable. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I definitely cherish this book, and I would love to get my hands on a physical copy. Now, in seventh place, we have what wins the award for most surprising. I did not think that I was going to love this book as much as I did. The Three Body Problem. I became kind of obsessed, and I definitely still think about this on the regular. And I'm still in the middle of reading the second book. It's getting me a very long time to get through because I've just been really busy. But regardless, this was incredible. I was so hooked. I love the blend of history and science fiction and how this blends real life events of the Chinese Cultural Revolution and the historical impact that it's had on people that lived through that period and how it then affected these characters in the present tense, and then the exploration of first contact and aliens, but like not in the way that you would think about aliens because it's kind of indirect. I don't know. It's hard to explain. But also the use of virtual reality and how that's explored to like explore the actual reality, and then it sets up events for the future and just it's what? It's so cool. So cool. And yeah, again, as I've mentioned, I love science, and this dives into a lot more, physics and mathematics, which I don't have as much of a background in, but I would love, 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 love to continue to learn more about that. And this is definitely, you know, piquing my interest when it comes to the fiction side of physics. Because I definitely want to read more like nonfiction that explains physics, so that I have extra knowledge that can help me understand the concepts that are talked about in this book. And yeah, biggest surprise, I loved it so much. Now in sixth place, we have How Far the Light Reaches by Sabrina Imbler. This wins the award of Best Personal Connection. I absolutely love this book. It's a nonfiction exploring the author's connection to her identity, to queerness, to marine biology, as well as immigration and family struggles, and personal identity and ethnicity and nationality. And I think I really connected to this on a lot of those levels. And I would say this also wins the award for most creative writing because I could not get over the writing style and how this author so seamlessly connected facts about sea creatures and then connected that to their own personal life and just went straight into a story about the lives of sea creatures and discoveries, scientific discoveries, and then connected that into their own life experience and stories. And it was absolutely beautiful. I listened to this through audiobook, but in the physical book, there also are illustrations. I constantly recommend this book and I constantly think about it because of how much, first of all, I love animals. I love marine life and just natural history in general. I love learning about that. I love watching documentaries about that. And so I feel like I learned a lot through this book, and how much I connected to a lot of what the author talked about made this extra special for me. In spot number 5, we have the award for Best Resolution. And this goes to This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Mukhtar and Max Gladstone. I was absolutely gushing about this book, and I cannot get out of my mind the feelings and like the imagery of what I was seeing as I was reading the resolution of the story, in terms of tying the knots and tying the threads that were left you with a lot of questions throughout the book. And so I feel like the resolution was like, it was very powerful. It was very, very powerful. And I think the love story and the extent that the characters would go to for each other was beautiful. And so I think this was a very, very powerful book. The love felt so genuine. Yes, parts of it felt a bit unbelievable in a sense, because it's like, okay, but how did these people really end up falling in love with each other? But in the end, I think it was very, very genuine, and I absolutely loved it. Now, in spot number 4, this can go to 2 books in the same series. So I was trying to decide which one to put in this spot, but I think I feel a lot more confident in giving the award of Best Plot Twist to Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. When I came down to actually analyzing my feelings about the books, I think that Golden Sun wins this spot. This was actually the first book that I finished in 2024, and I can still just so viscerally remember how I stayed up really late at night to get through the end of this book because of how intense the plot twists were. And I don't know how Pierce Brown does it. He just does it over and over again. And I just felt so betrayed. The story that was explored in Golden Sun kind of had more of an impact on me than Morningstar. Not to say that there's anything wrong with it. Obviously, Morningstar was fucking incredible. But I feel like, in terms of the emotional impact, Golden Sun definitely hits and stays with me more. Obviously, within Morningstar, there was a lot of emotional impact as well, within the entire series. It's all just emotional damage. But regardless, especially when it comes to winning the award for Best Plot Twist, Golden Sun wins 100%. It was incredible. I feel so connected to the story of the characters and their found family, and I felt so hurt by the betrayals and the plot twist. And so yes, this is in spot number 4 of my favorite books. Next, in spot number 3, we have the award for most pages read in a single day. And if you have seen my previous video, you will already know which book I'm talking about, and that would be The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenal Rivera. I would say, other than the most pages, this also wins an award for Best Love Story. That award can also be shared by This Is How You Lose the Time War, but in this, since it is more than 500 pages long rather than a short novella, I think that this really goes into explore the characters. It has the best character study because of how we literally follow these characters from practically when they were born to where they are in the story now, and how their love was kind of always there, or always meant to be, and how they've grown through that and with each other and being apart from each other, etc. And I ended up picking this up because I was in the mood for a deep character dive, but also I was in the mood for a bit slower historical fantasy, and this definitely delivered. And I ended up reading 222 pages in one day the moment I picked it up. And it was just such a comfort read, I'd say. I think I felt so comforted by the care that these characters have for each other, and it felt very special. I loved the world and the travels and the adventures that they were going through, and how they supported each other regardless of how impulsive one of the characters is versus how one isn't as reactive, but the things that they go through kind of change their characteristics and their personality because they really have to adapt to the hardships that they are going through. And at the end of the day, they just want to be with each other. And I think it was absolutely beautiful, and it was so comforting, and I just Absolutely love this book. Now, in second place, we have the most emotional book. I don't think that a lot of books made me cry this year. I would say that probably this one and then the Red Rising trilogy, of course, but nothing really compared to what wins the most emotional book that I read in 2024, which would be Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Emotional damage. Listen, I was already spoiled for what happened, but that doesn't take away the impact and the writing and the deep character studies and the symbolism of everything and just ah oh my god, this was incredible, this was beautiful, it was heart-wrenching, it was so, made me so happy but made me so so sad. And just how, for how long we get to be with these characters and get to understand them and their relation with each other was so frustrating and realistic. This was also very, very compulsive. I could not stop reading when I picked it up, but I wanted to slow down. I really wanted to savor this, but I also just didn't want to stop reading. The writing is beautiful. The characters are so frustrating, but they all have like such distinct personalities, and the way that they work together and explore the love that they have for each other and the subtleties of that when things aren't always said and you leave things without communicating them. And I don't know, it explores a lot about friendship and love and regret and building something together and how that carries through with you throughout the years and the grief that comes with life. It was absolutely beautiful and emotional, and I love this book so, so much. I'm so happy that I picked this up this year. Now, drum roll, please. We have in the number one spot, you might have already guessed this by now. If you haven't, where are you? Go watch my videos. This book wins a lot of awards. We have Best World Building / Magic. We have Best Revenge. We have Best Magical School / Training Montage. We have also an amazing betrayal. And we have Mystery. It ticks all of these boxes and more. Can you guess? Drumroll again. Nevernight by J. Kristoff. Thank you, thank you. A moment for an applause. So, I love this book. Number one spot, as you can tell. This book was absolutely just, like I just said, I listed everything that I love this about this book. The detail of the magic and the world building and just all of the mystery that Mia has to go through in order to reach her goals of revenge, and how we get drops of her backstory all make up this very intense characterization. And I just absolutely love her. I love the characters that she was involved with. I love all of the teachers at the magical school, especially. I love how the school is divided into all these different disciplines when it comes to magic, when it comes to communicating and learning how to trick people, when it comes to fighting, and the magical library. Hello. Extra plus. Oh, Mia Corvair. She is such a badass. Not to mention, obviously, the whole symbolism of ravens. That is a book made for me, baby. Like, I can't stop thinking about this. I love the writing style. I loved how there were footnotes that talked about the world and the lore, and I felt like it added more to the story, that it wasn't distracting for me personally. I loved the footnotes. Everything was so well fleshed out, so detailed when it comes to the politics and the religion and how those play together, and the empire that is ruling, and just the whole motives for the revenge and how she plans on executing that plan. But of course, being in a very competitive magical school, she's not really supposed to trust anyone because they're all in competition. They just want to be the best assassins, and that does in fact prove to bite her in the ass. But she's Mia Corvair, you know, like that just says enough. I just felt so entranced by every single little thing. I absolutely loved this book and I cannot wait to get into the second one. No, I haven't started it yet, but I do have another edition. But I did have to get these UK editions because, come on, they're gorgeous. I couldn't decide which one I liked better because they're both incredible. So this is the first time I've ever owned two different editions for the same book, which says a lot already, honestly. So I cannot wait to get into reading this book this year. Jay Kristoff, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your writing. Thank you for your ability. I am going to read everything that you write ever. Thank you. So, folks, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me on my literary journey and for being interested in hearing about my opinions and thoughts and things that I've read. And I hope you stick around if you want to subscribe to make sure that you follow my future videos that come out. I would love to have you here on my channel. If you like this, please give it a like. If you want to let me know that you're here, please, please, please tell me what your favorite book of 2024 was, because I would love to get more recommendations and hear about what you've been reading. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. Bye. This was just incredible on every single part of this.